Hammer, we'll start with this. No Tatum tonight. De'Aaron Fox's birthday. Second night of a back-to-back for the Celtics. What's your gut feeling on this game before it gets underway tonight?
Yeah, this team looked dog tired last night.
Mm-hmm.
Run them off the board. Mm-hmm. Just like put your foot down, run. I don't think Al Horford's playing because he doesn't play in the second night of back-to-back, which means they don't have a heavyweight fighter down there to go against Sabonis, unless we count Neemias Queta. So, I would love to see a one-on-one matchup all night long against Domas and Porzingis.
One thing that reminds me of, too, is last year, Celtics had Horford and Tatum. They were throwing him on Domas all game last year. They won't have those guys this year, so we'll see what happens.
I would even assume that Tatum would have defended Fox for a certain amount of time because they like to throw all kinds of mixes, but they still have great defenders like Drew Holiday. Derek White's a good defender. Mm-hmm. They can throw Brown on him. They've got all kinds of matchup issues that you can throw at him, but just don't get caught in the battle if you're Fox. There's a battle and then there's a war. Win the war. Don't worry about the battle. Make your teammates better. You don't have to go for 50 because Jason Tatum's watching and he went 3 spots ahead of you in the draft. Just go out there and play your game.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying on that. I think his game is to get 30, 35. That's his game this year. That's what he does. You know what I mean? And it's within the flow of the offense. It's part of the offense because right now he is one of the more unguardable players in the game today. What I would want to see him do, though, is I want to see him attacking. Don't settle for threes. Don't settle for jump shots. Look to attack and get to the line even. And when I say attack, that's in the half court, but get that ball off a miss, even off some makes. Attack the basket. Like you talked about, James, these guys played a tough game last night, tired legs. Run. That's part of running them. Even if you got to take it out of after a made basket, run up the floor. The thing that I don't want to see from the Kings today is I don't want to see a lot of flat fouls, which slows the game down and gives the Celtics the rest they may need tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. They look like they lost their legs mid-third quarter. And this is their third game in 4 nights. They're on a back-to-back, but third game in 4 nights. One of those games was in Boston. They flew all the way to the West Coast. They lose a tough game to Golden State in overtime. You could see them run out of gas mid-third, late third, early fourth, and the shots stop falling. That's who they are right now. So go out there and take advantage of the situation, just like Minnesota's not going to let you off the hook on Saturday. Right. That back-to-back is coming for you. You need 2 of these 3 wins right here. This is a tough, a tough 3-game set. You need 2 of them, and you're better than at least 2 of these teams, in my opinion. Regardless of record, you're a matchup problem for them. You're better than them. Go out there and beat them.
You think the Celtics, I think it was 58 threes last night?
It's wild.
It's probably part of a sign of being tired, right? It's easier to I think that was the flow of the game because the Warriors shot 50. Mm-hmm. But you think we see 58 shot attempts from them tonight?
No.
I asked Will Z earlier. You think we see 100 threes between the 2 teams tonight like we saw last night?
I don't think so. No, I think the Kings are getting a game plan to take away the 3. That's the Celtics offense.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't have a true post-up player outside of Tatum. I mean, I don't like Porzingis as a true post-up player. They're going to have a tough time. This is the Kings they've got crushed by the Celtics too many times in recent years. They look at this, they've circled it. They did not practice yesterday. They watched film. I'm not sure that I 100% believe that. But this is a game where the target is lined up for you. Just stay focused, do what you do. Don't worry about them. And you should have the ability to beat this team without Tatum.
The other thing about this whole situation, not only this game, you take it one game at a time, but not only this game, but this stretch of 3 games, I think this team is ready for this moment. I think they are looking forward to this moment to prove that they're one of the elite teams in the league, and they've got an opportunity in front of them right here to win 2 of 3, maybe win all 3, and make an early season statement that I mean, not that they really care, but just maybe even prove to themselves and just put the league on notice that all the people thought it was a fluke or couldn't do it because of injuries and all this other stuff. No, we're for real. We're here. You're going to deal with us this year. They got an opportunity to make that statement in the next 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and I would point out that the Kings are so far ahead of where they were last year. Like last year, they got to 7 games over 500 on like January 17th. So they really are trending the right direction. And when we got to last season, I know there were so many teams that we thought would tank for Victor Wembanyama. Not a lot of teams did. Like if you look at this year's records of some of these teams, the bottom 7 teams in the league are absolute garbage. They aren't trying, or at least they're not able to win. So when you're looking at, I'll take Memphis and kind of cross them off that list, but Utah, Portland, San Antonio, Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, even I'm going to guess that Chicago, we can throw in that mix when they start to tear that thing apart. That means the Kings haven't even played these guys. Like, look at how many games that they can win in the second half of the season when the basketball gets real. This lines you up. If you start picking off these games right now, you're 10-3 at home, you can get to, somehow you win all 3 and you're 13-3 coming out of this. And you're, what would that put you? 10 games over 500 right now. You would hope that even playing 500 ball the rest of the season, you're already a playoff team without any question. But you could be a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, even you talked about 3-0. You mentioned 2-1 earlier, like 12-4 at home. Like that's a good number. That's up there with the big boys. I don't think Houston's going to maintain the 11-1 record that they have. I don't think they're going to maintain that clip in Houston. But when you look at Denver, Milwaukee, Boston, those are teams that have really, really good home records. That's certainly what you want to see from Sacramento as you hope they take another step forward this year. I'm going to ask you the question because it's obviously been a big few weeks for Keegan Murray. I'm going to ask you a big few games for Keegan Murray. The question that Jesse asked us a second ago, is what he's doing on the defensive end more surprising to you than what he's doing on the offensive end?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because, like I watch a lot of footage of him. I watched him play a lot in college and just randomly, like during the season and even like their big tournament. I watched him play where he was like a 37, 38% 3-point shooter. And then he had a blow up couple of games like towards the end of the season, which pushed him well over 40%. I looked at him and everyone talked about his defensive prowess at that level. And it just did not look like it would translate. Like we talked about it before, like the shot blocking was never going to translate. No one is going to allow him to be a weak side shot blocker like he was at the college level. So we haven't seen the like 1.6 or 1.8 blocks per game like he was in college. But even like the motion, like his movement, he said, okay, he can be a league average, maybe a little bit better than that. I would not have put him at a plus defender at all. Then he goes into the offseason and he works out like a crazy man. And the Kings really focused on leaning him down, letting him build up his upper body, but getting him stronger, but really working on flexibility, mobility. He comes in and he said, like right away, like I'm a better athlete right now than I was before. And I don't think I've ever, I've seen players improve and get more physical and all that stuff. But to have someone say, I'm just flat out a better athlete, that's weird. That doesn't usually happen when a player goes from his first season to his second season. They get better at shooting. They get better at the nuances of the game. They get stronger. They can add some weight, all that stuff. But have someone just flat out become a better athlete. And that's what we're seeing. It's not like he's a whole lot different than he was in college, except for he's just quicker. He won't get burned time and time again by Steph Curry going to the basket like what we saw in the playoffs. He's just a better athlete. He can move quicker. He can get to the spot better. And I think that's the most surprising thing for me from this whole season. Although, like, again, he just dropped 47. That was pretty surprising as well.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit before you came on, but I mean, in the month of December, skewed a little bit by 47, but he's averaging 20.4 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, shooting 53% from the field and 51% from beyond the arc. And that's before we talk about what he's able to do on the defensive end. And like I said, it skewed a little bit by 47, by 12 or 15 from beyond the arc. But I mean, this is a guy that's a mid-40s, going to be a mid-40s career three-point shooter, in my opinion, especially with the role that he plays in Sacramento, where it's going to be a lot of wide open catch and shoot threes. I mean, I have no problem saying it. He's better than I thought he would be. And I thought he was a good prospect coming out of college. He's better as an offensive player, and he's way better as a perimeter defensive player than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
Already.
I mean, this is what the Kings kept kind of quietly saying. Like, this is going to be an all-star level player. And we haven't got there yet. I mean, it's been a week of him being like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's been this a whole season. He certainly took some time to adapt to, I think, both physically being like bigger and heavier than he was before. But then on top of that, like just what it takes to defend like that on one end and go to the other end and still have your legs, his body's figuring it out. And it's something that, we saw it last year with Monk and with Herter. Like, sure, they had played good minutes before on other teams, but they had never played the type of minutes that the Kings were asking them to do, where they were playing as hard as they were, where they were running around in that offense as much as they were. And they just ran out of juice for certain portions of the season. They eventually figured it out and finished strong. Take Herter's playoffs off the table. I mean, his last 6 weeks of the season were really good. But now we're seeing it with Keegan, who's a younger player who has this ability to, show you something that you didn't think he had. So yeah, I'm impressed. I think he's changed my mind 100%. Not just I didn't think he was a bad prospect. I didn't think he was a bad choice by the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept saying, like, you probably should have got something out of Detroit so they aren't sitting there snickering and acting like they got over on you on draft night and they got Jaden Ivey, the guy they wanted, and everyone in the league knew they wanted. Right? They didn't want to go get Keegan Murray. They wanted Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, who's laughing now?
The Kings are. Yeah, the Kings are. But I would still argue the Kings would have really been laughing if they had Keegan Murray and Sadiq Bey side by side. And we didn't have to worry about that because, they would have.
Well, wasn't the problem with that was everyone knew that the Kings weren't taking Jaden Ivey, that they were taking Keegan Murray?
Well, yeah, that's part of it. But, like, this is a game you got to play. And, like, again, they let
Gotta
that.
bluff better?
Yes, for some reason I got out there because
Yeah.
if you go back to the year before, no one knew they were drafting Davion Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
No one.
Mm-hmm. Including Davion Mitchell,
No.
if I remember correctly.
He never even met with them
Yeah.
at all. Yeah, just wild.
He told that story to Mark and Chris Haynes. I said that weird. Mark Stein and Chris Haynes. He was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I didn't even talk to Sacramento." That's great.
Yeah.
Not picking on these guys. At some point, do you have to know what you're getting from Harrison and Kevin Herter on a night-to-night basis? Because right now it feels like you don't. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes you get what you got from Harrison the other night against Washington. Sometimes you get what you get from Harrison a couple of nights ago. Does Mike have to know what he's getting from these guys?
Well, I think if we start pinning in Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and now Keegan Murray and Malik Monk,
yeah.
If you got four players that you can write and pen what they're going to do numbers-wise, then it's okay for this other group of four to kind of take turns.
Okay.
Like, I think that, and if that's the case, just to be completely honest, that makes them very, very movable, not just like on the market, but in the Kings' eyes. Like, if you can't really write down and know what they're going to get on a nightly basis, what they're going to give you. Okay, you can take a step back in talent, overall talent at that position to go get a better 3-and-D version of those players without like a lot of trying.
Feeling, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, if they can't, Kevin Herter's not averaging 15 and pushing the envelope on who's your third or fourth best player, then, can you get a player that just fits and plays really, really well defensively and is just more of a straight 3-and-D guy? Yeah, the answer is yes, you can.
That's one of the things that we talked about yesterday. I talked about it's like you looked at just the way the game goes. Like if Keegan is this 21 point per game score or something like that, well, you're getting Keegan giving you 21. You're getting Domas giving you 18 to 25. You got Fox giving you 28 to 32. Monk will come in with 15 to 20. You got all that guaranteed. Now, out of Barnes, Herter, and I'd say Trey Lyles, I just need one of you guys to have a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just need one of you guys. I don't care which one it is. One of you guys give me double digits, give me like 11, and we're probably going to win 60% of our games.
And
You know
then
what I
even
mean?
you can take it a step further. If you have two, throw Sasha Vezenkov in there. If you have two of that group,
Now you're cooking.
give you 9 to 11, then you're really difficult to beat.
Right.
You're really
Right.
difficult to beat, especially like, and you can, like, on occasion, it could be a guy like Keon Ellis who surprises you and has a 17-point game like he has. He's also had like a 10-point game, 12-point game. Like, those games, they don't look that huge on the stat sheet, but when you try to slow down all of these really high level scorers, you got 4 guys that can go for 30 on any given night.
Mhm.
And this team might have 6 that can go for 30 on any given night. But then you have these other guys who hit you for 7 or 8, but there's 3 of them that do it. It's nearly impossible to defend a
It's
team
one
like
of
that.
those things, like, because people talk about all KC thinks about his offense. It's not the offense necessarily. It's you guys got to understand how hard that is to go up against.
Mhm.
Like, if Kevin Durant did a podcast about it, he's like, what do we do? Everybody can score. Like, mentally, the pressure that puts on you, not only on the defensive end, but to try to keep up with a team like that. That's a lot. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that defense doesn't matter. It just means, like, if you can get infinite firepower, that's going to be hard to beat.
Well, I'd add too that, I mean, like, to single out Kevin Durant, it's really tough when you're a team like the Suns and you got these 2 or 3 guys that are going to shoot all the shots. And so if they're hot, then they're going to win.
Mhm.
But if they're not, like, they've kind of taken the option of the other guys helping.
Mhm.
That's, I think, the beauty of the Kings. Like, Fox is going for 30 almost every night.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, that the snarky comment he had to Sean 2 days ago about, like, well, I'm consistently
I'm great every night.
I'm great and
Yeah,
consistently
consistently
great
great,
every
yeah.
night, right? So, but he is. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to fault him for saying it. He's had 3 games this season where he hasn't been. That's pretty good in 25 games, or what, he's played 20, right? Like, he's been consistently great. Well, he's not the only guy. The Kings don't live and die just by what De'Aaron Fox does. Where some of these other teams who have star players, well, Dallas Mavericks, they live and die by Luka and Kyrie. The Kings are living and dying by, like, a whole bunch of guys, and it's okay to distribute it that way. Even, Golden State. Like, if Steph doesn't have that game that he had last night, they get absolutely run over.
Mhm.
But the dude just keeps hitting threes. There's nothing you can do about it.
And then you got Keon Ellis, who just kind of balances a lot of the stuff we see on the defensive end. Now, we talk about Keegan, talk about De'Aaron, talk about what those guys are doing defensively. Keon, you talk about having an opportunity or earning an opportunity, getting an opportunity, and taking advantage of it. Keon can have a night where he's 0 for 2, and it doesn't matter because, like, Keon is impactful when he's out on the floor. He's one of the really cool King stories of the last couple of years.
I totally agree, especially for a two-way player to have this type of impact and to steal somebody's rotational spot.
Yeah.
And just like, look, this is who I am. This is what I do. Brian Cruz in the chat, he brought up Matisse Thybulle. Like, that's the type of player I'm saying, like, look, if you don't have consistency from Herter or Barnes, like, you can go swap these guys out and find players like Matisse Thybulle, and you might have stumbled into one with Keon Ellis. Like, I don't know that he is the pure lockdown individual defender that Matisse Thybulle is, but his ability to get through screens, to fight through, like what Mike Brown started, he said, again, he's not Bruce Bowen, but the way that he can go over a screen and fight through it and have no problem, or he can go under a screen, but then zip right up and eat that space and not allow a shooter to get a shot off, even going under the screen. He's like, that's what Bruce Bowen did. That's what made Bruce Bowen so great. Keon Ellis is showing that he can do that. Plus, he brings a joy and an energy to the court that It doesn't matter what sport you play in. If you got one of those dudes on your bench, if Kenny's basketball team has a kid who might not be as good as everybody else, but man, he's fun and he's a joy and he leads the team huddle and he's grabbing other teammates by the hand and they're all excited and like he's that guy. That's Keon. That's what he's bringing. He's bringing just a good energy that I think Malik brings, but also we all know you can't bring it every day. And now you got two of them that can bring that type of energy off the bench. Some days you don't got it. Malik won't have it. Now you got a second guy who can just like, oh, I got you. I see we're struggling right there and come in with a different energy.
I can't imagine Malik Monk not coming in with energy. That's hard to believe. That's hard to believe. And if Kenny had a kid like Keon, he wouldn't play him. He ain't here for energy. You better get some buckets.
Oh no, I need
Kenny's team.
Oh. I need energy, man.
You need those kids, man.
I need it. Well, it helps if you can get buckets, but see, this is the funny thing about radio KC and Coach KC. You don't defend. I don't have a whole lot of spot free. I got people that can score. I can draw up a play to get anybody.
Yeah, but what if the kid says, "Hey, Dad, you didn't defend"?
Not
speak.
I used to be the glove dog. I was the glove. I was locked down.
Oh,
okay.
I was locked down. But then, they needed me to score 25. I can't do everything.
Of course not.
So that's what happened.
Okay.
But yeah, you got to defend.
Yeah,
got to defend.
That's Keon.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as Keon's taller than Davion? It can't be that, right? It's something else.
Oh no, he's wiry. He's longer. Like wingspan. It's not just that Davion isn't very tall. It's that he's built like Isaiah Thomas. He's like blocky and doesn't have long arms.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And Davion just keeps working and working out. Yeah, I mean, he's built like a linebacker. That's tough to get through a small space when someone's trying to set a screen on you. When you're built like that, like he wants to run someone over and fight through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way to get around the screen, but Keon's doing it by being nimble and just like there is something about being wiry, being able to move that way, like just being loose. And the same thing with Fox. Like he's built more like Fox. And so is Monk. They're all kind of built that same way. Long arms, wiry, skinny ankles. Like
Money's got a type.
Yeah.
Money's got a type.
Yeah, understandable. It works for me. All three of those guys are good. We'll come back. I want to ask you some more about Keon Ellis, and we'll talk more about this game. It is the Kings and the Celtics tonight at the Golden One Center. Also, we're going to be outside. We're going to be downtown.
Outside.
We'll tell you all about it when dealing with KC. I'm going to sound awfully stupid in about 2 hours if it don't stop raining. Steelo and KC brought to you by Sky River Casino here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Is it really?
It wasn't raining when I came in.
Started up again. You say you just walked in? I'm going to need it to
chill.
chill.
Couple things in the chat. Number one. Hey, that's got to be Katrina. That's got to be Katrina.
Oh, Katrina's back.
Katrina hit in the chat like Russell Westbrook on the bench eating. What's up, guys?
Did she change her emoji? Oh, Katrina.
Like Russell Westbrook on the bench.
They say this not Photoshop. Did you see that picture?
I didn't see that picture.
Goodness gracious. That boy's an animal.
Yeah, he's jacked.
Also, Drew Down, appreciate you, man. We got to get up in the morning tomorrow morning, matter of fact. So
when did you get that addition to your house? The gym?
Yeah.
At my house.
It's in the house next door, the compound.
It's not my house.
It's past the lake. We weren't allowed in that area.
It's not in my house at all. What are we talking about? Come on.
Hey, don't be ashamed of what you got.
You worked hard to get there.
Oh,
show everyone your bag.
No, I did. None of this is true. None of this is true. I got a regular house. Also, LSU versus Coppin State right now. At Coppin State. You rarely ever see that in college. Maybe you see it more in
don't know where
basketball.
that's at. Coppin State.
Coppin State is Off the top of my head, I think it's in Maryland,
Oh,
and I think it's more of it's not a HBCU, but it's like those schools like in the SoCon or the MEAC. Like they're not technically HBCUs, but they got a lot of
this
black
thing's
kids to go there.
rain for the next hour.
But yeah,
Oh.
at Coppin State, true road game. Rarely see that. I remember North Carolina went to UC Santa Barbara on their way to the Maui Invitational and lost. That's why they don't go to these places too often, because for whatever reason it's just hard to play there.
Trying to find Keon Ellis. Is it like,
It's like a 5,000 square foot guest house.
is it too difficult for NBA.com to put in a search, like little window for players, so you can actually search for just some random player on a team without having to like go through lists and lists of players? It's ridiculous.
Well, I guess our dumbasses are going to be standing in it.
Coach Molly, I don't see that anywhere.
Well, check Sacramento and not Roseville, because that just dawned on me a second ago too.
Well, I
Like, we're
checked
in
Sacramento
Roseville.
earlier. Let me see that.
I did too. I have rain all through the 4 o'clock hour. I still think it's raining a lot later than the people at the ice rink thought it was going to.
There we
It's going to be
go.
done in about 45 minutes.
Well, make it 30.
Yeah,
Katrina, you guys going to the game?
Right now in Las Vegas, it is 64 degrees. In Paramount, it is 63 degrees. There's a flood watch. Oh, my.
What are you cackling at?
you got a response to your question, just a one word.
Maybe. That. Yeah, they're not happy with me. I don't know.
Come on, y'all. Come on, man. It's love, y'all. Come on now.
No,
It's
no,
love. It's love. It's love. Come on, y'all. Don't do that. Don't do that, y'all. Don't do that.
Mad at the teacher who's trying to keep
do
class in order.
It's love. It's love.
We were talking about Keon Ellis hammer there a second ago. Like, obviously, it's still early in the season. We're a quarter way through. Keon is, I think, had a couple of games injured as well. We're kind of, they're going to make it. Like, he's not going to Stockton, is he?
No, I don't think so.
Like, they got to convert him, and he's going to be a player.
Okay, so they just signed Juan Toscano Anderson, so
Right.
they're out of regular roster spots, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a non-guaranteed deal, so we're gonna get past the trade deadline and figure out what's happening, and then they'll figure out what they're gonna do with Keon.
We're normally about 50 games in by the trade deadline, right?
Yeah, there's usually about 25, 27 games
Yeah.
after the deadline, but I also think because he got injured, because he hasn't been active for every single game,
Mm-hmm.
that it's possible that Keon is, I don't know where he's at game-wise
Yeah.
as of right now. It used to be the amount of days you were up with the team,
Mhm.
50 days or 45 days. But yeah, he's pushing more like he's well above.
And it's just games now. It's
Yeah, it's
nothing,
games
it's
played.
just games. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna like guess that what they'll do is they'll get past the trade deadline, they'll figure everything out that happened at the trade deadline. If they have to waive a player at that point, they will. If they don't have to waive a player because say you did like a 3-for-1 or 3-for-2 and you opened up a roster spot, then you might have a spot for both Juan Toscano Anderson and a player like Keon. But I think I'm pretty sure that Keon is going to get a full-fledged contract, and I don't think they'll give him likely a 2-year contract, which will be the second year will be a team option.
He was inactive, according to Basketball Reference, for 3 games. he did not play in 4 additional others. I'm assuming those did not plays meant he was on the roster and his number just didn't get called.
Yeah, the DMPs count though. If he's in uniform.
So there's 3. If I'm reading this all correctly, there's 3 of the 25 that he was inactive.
Yeah. So Allison Marie says in the chat he's at 18 games, but I think that's 18 games played, and it's not based off of games played. It's based off of games that you're available and on the active roster. So, yeah, he's probably in the 20s, in the low 20s. So they'll have to monitor that a little bit, but maybe you don't. I mean, like the way he's played and the way he's impacted the game, you might just get to the end of his 2-way and say, look, you got to hang tight for a few days until we get to a point where we get past February 8th. So I don't know how many games are between now and February 8th to actually make that judgment call.
So it's interesting you brought up JTA, because when they signed him, the first thing I was thinking was like, oh, they have an open roster spot, and like wasn't. And I guess my thought was, I always thought that was going to be Keon's if it got converted. So where do they stand now with say you get 50 games in and it's time to make a decision on Keon? Do they have a roster spot, or will somebody have to get cut?
No, someone's going to have to get cut. Yeah, I mean, they waived Philip Petrusev, and that's what gave him the extra spot. But again, they had some sort of weird mechanism where they had to have a 15th rostered player in order to get their 2-way players to have 150 games. So the 2-way system is very strange. If you have less than 15 players on your roster, you get a combined 90 games for the season out of your 2-way players. If you have 15 on your roster, you get 50 for all 3 for each of your 3.
Is that
so 150
to discourage signing players to 2-way contracts instead of full guaranteed contracts?
Yeah, because the players union doesn't want to lose.
Protects the players.
Yeah, they don't want to add a 2-way player but lose a roster spot on the main roster.
I got you.
The players union
that makes complete sense.
It's weird. 15 players on every roster every single game. I mean, you want as many paying union members as you can possibly get.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let me see.
Ham's counting. I think he's counting how many players they have on 2-ways and the active roster. I would say. What can you have? 20?
No, they have 25 games until they get to the trade deadline. The trade deadline is February 8th. So they should be okay.
What did we just say for
I believe it's February 8th.
Keon is, it looks like he's at 22 for just judging off the inactives versus the did not plays. He's at 22 games this season so far. So that does put him in the kind of that, hey, you may have to
47 games. That's where you're at.
Yeah.
So maybe that works. Yeah.
I'll take it because it's hard, because he doesn't feel like our man Terrence Davis, who was showing out last night. He doesn't feel like a hot hand. We're gonna ride this out. When it doesn't work, we're gonna go back to Davion. It feels like, and we're fans of Davion. It feels like he just deballed Davion's spot. He just took it.
Yeah, he did. I mean, at the end of the day, it's
not a back and forth thing. Like he took it.
And I'll keep making this point, and I kept making this point, and then Mike reiterated it the other night. Like, these bad games, when you have a bad game, that is such an opportunity for someone who doesn't get to play in the rotation to go out on the court, show that they can play the right way, do the right things. We've seen it.
We saw Chemezi last year.
Yeah.
Matu.
We even saw it from that's a all right. We've even seen it, like, we saw it from Sasha Vezinkov when they were getting smoked by the Clippers. Sasha went in the game, was like, look at how hard he's playing. He set up his teammates. He hit some threes. He's grabbing rebounds. He's acting like it's a regular, everyday second quarter minute stint where you got to go out there and play hard. And that's what they're looking for. Keon does it. He steps up. But my point would be that Davion has now had this opportunity in 4 or 5 games and hasn't gone back out there and just stole the spot away. Yeah. And that's what you're waiting for. Like, hey, look, man, it's not like Keon Ellis is playing so incredibly well that he can't ever be replaced. No, you've had opportunities to go out there and take the spot back, and you just haven't been able to. Yeah, I've been super impressed with Keon. And, again, like, he has so much, like, spirit about him. Like he's just like an energy guy. It just like exudes out of him.
Yeah.
You talked about Sasha a little bit and Keon as well. And we talked about Keegan earlier in the season and getting his legs under him. Is that a lot of what was going on in maybe the first month of these guys trying to get their legs under him? I'm talking about Sasha, get his NBA legs under him. Keegan being a two-way guy, having a little bit more of a responsibility. And now, as we get into the new year and get to the end of December, they have a better feel of their bodies and the NBA in Sasha's case. And now you can kind of see a little bit more consistency. You think it's that simple with this team, where they're at right now?
I think they had to play themselves into shape a little bit. I don't know why that is, but I feel like maybe they were going through so many things in training camp, so many different, changes in the offense and changes in the defense and really working on, like technique and improvements that they may have missed a little bit of just making these dudes run. It's not been the same season. Like I talked to you guys about it all last year. It was like, holy cow, we have practice every day. Like they practice, but we have to be there every day because they're practicing. That's not the case this season. Even like last night, yesterday, they won on Monday. And then like right away, Mike said, yeah, we're not practicing tomorrow.
Why do you think that all that is? Is it more because my thought, and you can tell me what you think, is like Mike might have looked at what happened last year, the way it went about it, the constant grind, like they're not going to make it. Like there's a reason that doesn't happen all the time in the NBA. The immediate timeouts and everything.
That's the reason Tom Thibodeau lost like 2 jobs.
Yeah, right. And there's a part of me that believes like he felt like, all right, they grew up a little bit last year and learned some things. If they're going to make it where we want them to make it, I can't hold their hand all the time. They've got to do it themselves to a certain degree. So I can't have practice every day. I can't call a timeout after a 5-0 run or something like that. Like they're going to have to learn to do these things on their own a little bit. You think that's the case?
Yeah. Mike was clear. He doesn't coach in practice. He doesn't coach in games all that much. Like he's not sitting there with his legs crossed, as Mark Jones likes to say, just sitting back watching. But he is like, you do the work beforehand. And so you can make an adjustment. You can say, hey, player X isn't playing that well. I need to go more minutes here, less minutes here. So you're making that type of mental adjustment. But I think, again, to get back to like youth sports, your team is good when you roll up and your players are all hanging out and talking, getting their shoes on, all that stuff. And then someone goes, hey, let's go. And a player says it, and the whole team gets up. They go get in their 2 lines, and they start going. And they start doing their drills and getting warmed up for a game. And they go through, and they go from one drill to the next. Someone's calling out, all right, 1 touch, 2 touch is for soccer. Like, that's when you're like, you see that? We didn't have to say anything. Coaches are sitting over there, like, drinking coffee, and you're watching your team, like, get in the mindset. So, like, I think there's a lot of that in the NBA where you're just like, okay, do they get it? Do I have to sit here and call plays the whole game? Because Mike said that, like, I might call a play like once or twice a game. And then the King said in the game the other night, they ran the same play for 7 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you can't stop us. So why would we stop doing? And that's another thing where you're like, man, the realization of players on the court to say, they can't stop this. Let's just keep doing it and see how they react. Okay, you can't stop it.
No, you're fine. Everything's fine. James is safe, guys. James is safe. It's all right.
Jeez.
We got you, James. We'll cover. This is what we do. We cover for you, James.
I
Just
couldn't get to
sneeze,
the
we
button.
got you.
Couldn't get to the button. I'm like,
No, it's all
Go
right.
back to talking about Mike Sirianni.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, you guys get it, right? You're waiting for this team to figure it out, and right now they're starting to figure out everything, and they're starting to get better and better and better.
And that comes with Mike knowing these guys. That
Mhm.
comes with the year of equity they have together.
Yeah. Well, that, and you've put the players in a position to succeed, and they know that, and they have found success. Now let's figure out
Put them in
ways.
places of power too, like De'Aaron, Domas, Malik, hell, Keon, any of them.
Oh yeah.
To stand up and correct something that they're not doing right.
No, I totally agree. Like that's how this team is built, though. Like it's a tight knit family. Like I'm really enjoying this last year and a half with these guys because it's just so different. Like they really are. Like we were talking about it earlier. There's that, the story about Keegan and him spending all summer with De'Aaron Fox, right?
Mhm.
And we're not just talking about the basketball court. We're talking about like we all saw
Uncle Keegs.
Yeah, Uncle Keegs, right? And we're seeing him push a stroller everywhere, right? Like Keegan Murray is a very like unique player. He's a player who spent his entire life with an identical twin. And then one of them went to the NBA and the other one didn't. And the other one stayed back in Iowa. And while that's happening, we know last season grandma had a medical emergency, right? And that was like very earth-shattering for Keegan. And you could see early in the season him have some real struggles because he's having some personal stuff off the court. But then as we've seen this thing develop, like remember that like his parents are back where where they live, and his dad coaches daughters in high school basketball, and now his brother's in Portland. Like I don't know if there was a player, like there are players that come to Sacramento all the time as rookies, and they have, sometimes their family members come out. I mean, you remember DeMarcus Cousins brought Andrew Rogers with him, right? Who is the one of the trainers at Kentucky. He brought him with him to be like to help him with his daily life, to help him pay bills and learn how to teach. I mean, DeMarcus didn't know how to drive. He didn't have his driver's license when he got to Sacramento. Nick Stauskas didn't have his driver's license. He would walk from the apartments to the practice facility. You could see him walking across the parking lot to and from because the dude didn't have his driver's license. And so the point I'll make with Keegan, it's not just that Keegan needed the support of a regular rookie where he needed some people around him to like, hey, we got you here, keep shooting, right? He needed a family because his family is busy and doing other things, and he's a long ways away. And I think that that's where you can see the Foxes as a family have like understood that and understood that, he's a quiet kid. He's an introvert, and like tried to help bring him out of his shell, but also make him comfortable in his situation here so he can develop the right way and he can feel like there's a family like that he can rely on here. And it's not just about basketball. It's about everything in life. And the other thing I bring up is if anyone out there thinks that De'Aaron Fox would let Monty McNair trade Keegan Murray, that's just not happening. Like Rasay wouldn't let it happen. She'd be on the phone like, cancel the trade now. Like these guys are that close. They are family.
Adam, hey, need you to Chris Paul Lakers this thing.
Hi, Adam. How you doing? This is Rasay.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like it's more than just like Mike Brown has created a culture here that was not here before. And it starts with him and his coaching staff. You walk into a game and there are babies everywhere. There are 1, 2, 3, 4-year-olds everywhere. All of the assistant coaches almost all of them have little kids. They're all there every single game.
Jordy's got several.
Jordy's got 2. Luke Laux, I think, has 3. Dolkey's has like 2 or 3. Like there's all of these kids. There's one daycare in Sacramento has 13 kids from the Sacramento Kings coaching staff / front office.
Tell Doug and Jackie we need more content for Jackie's show.
There it is.
Time for a late life baby. Let's go, DC. Come
No,
on, Jackie.
no. Oh, they got it. They might have another grandbaby on the way.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
How many kids do they have?
Jackie and Doug?
Yeah.
Well, they have 3 total.
3 total. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've met all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean
that's
that's
awesome.
the family that's being built here, and you feel it. The players feel it. They all feel comfortable. And again, so Sabonis now has 2 babies at home. You've got Harrison Barnes has a little one. You got baby Rain. Like this is they're growing together as a family. They're all around the same age, shared experience, having a great time playing basketball, but they also have family support in place for all of these players and for all of the coaches. They are all built in support for each other, which is great.
That's what's going to make the parade so special.
There'll be a whole bus filled with babies.
Right. The baby bus.
The baby bus.
The baby bus.
That's tremendous. Maybe a baby race with all of the coaches' kids.
That could happen.
Hey, even Mike
could
has
happen.
grandbaby here. Mike has a grandbaby here too, which he talks about all the time.
It could happen.
Mike definitely comes across like a proud grandpa.
Oh yeah.
Like Mike comes across like he just loves like being a grandpa more than he loves being a coach, more than anything. Like he comes across like he's strong grandpa vibes from Mike Brown.
Well, that his parents have dropped by. They're
Mhm.
here, and his mom was in the last game in the press conference room. His dad was in the game before that, and his mom like calls him and says, "Mike, spit out your gum. Like, don't talk to the media with gum in your mouth. That's rude." So there's that's so we've haven't met her until this last game, but yeah, I mean, this is a family atmosphere, and I think it's something that again, it's unique because I've been here a long time covering this team. It's never felt like this particular vibe.
Well, is the family going to beat the Celtics?
Well,
Family got to beat the
Is
Celtics.
Baby
at some point.
Rain gonna put up a double tonight with Domas? Because we know Domas is gonna put one up at minimum. He's gonna put up a double. Have we gotten to the point where, because we know Domas just gets ignored, Domas just puts up 20, 13, and 8 on a night-to-night basis. No one cares. Have we hit that point with De'Aaron? It feels like the noise with De'Aaron was kind of loud to start the season, and now Keegan's had a hot 2-week stretch, and it's like, De'Aaron's old news. He's just scoring 30 a game.
that's what they do in power rankings.
Yeah, I'm waiting
Well,
for
that is what they do. That's facts.
I'm waiting for like the Western Conference Player of the Week to come up with Keegan Murray, because then it'll be like, oh, you got some competition, and that's fun.
Oh, and Fox and De'Aaron will absolutely. Well, I've won it 4 times. Like
yeah, like I don't know, that's
Hey,
his first
De'Aaron,
one.
You're talking to the new player of the week in the Western Conference.
I think Jason Anderson asked Mike. He's something about. He said, "Did you know that your Keegan Murray impersonation has a little Urkel in it?" And Mike's like, "Okay." Like, oh, wow. That's tough.
Keegan, I love Keegan so much. He does talk like he doesn't want you to hear him, nor does he really want to move his mouth. Like he just wants to get the whole like when he does the interviews, he's looking this way, when like the headset interviews. Now, again, there's no one for him to like look at. There's no one directly for him to look at, but he's off to this side. He's just taking in the crowd. Oh, they're lighting the beam over here.
That's something I haven't noticed because I never get to see those interviews.
Yeah.
Right. I'll mention that because I've got friends there that just say, "Hey, can you tell the players to like look into the lens?"
I told.
Oh,
Fox
I can
have
looking into the lens is hard. That's difficult. They unless there's someone like there. You know what I
It's
mean?
not a camera on a stand. There's
no. I mean, like, I
It's
know
still
there's
a little awkward.
Yeah, I know there's a person holding the camera, but unless there's like Mike and Deuce or Kyle or Morgan or whoever, they're up far away. Make a little fake Morgan and just like stand next to the camera, and the player can talk and make it look like they're talking to them.
Yeah. No, I mean that makes sense. Like
Because it's really hard to just look straight at it.
Because all you're doing is you're listening.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, I'm listening. Yeah, we played hard. Like you're kind of talking to.
Yeah, but I think the players forget.
And
that,
Keegan's thought bubble just says, just get this over with.
Yeah. Players forget, though, that there's a camera that's actually rolling. They're listening for the question. They're trying to think about what the question is.
It's also probably really hard to hear because they're lighting the beam at the exact time that you're having this
All
conversation.
right, let's count down. 5, 4. I can't hear anything.
Like,
that's why I have double.
I don't know what Mike said.
Yeah, it's because I would be on the floor and they'd be asking, and you're like, I hope you're asking me the question that I think you're asking me. So I'm just going to go ahead and start answering it. And then one time I was on the floor at Oracle and someone knocked a chair over, a fold-up chair right next to me, snapped me out. I was shot. Done.
Oh,
Absolutely.
no.
I couldn't even.
James, are you okay?
Back to studio.
James, blink.
It sounded
James, are you okay?
It sounded like a gunshot right next to me. It was like, oh, this thing's over. Just go back to studio. I'm shot now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I did have a time when Jim Cozumore, while I was doing a live hit on the set, walks right by the camera, and then someone goes, "Jim," and he stops and he's like, "Camera's right here," and he turns and his face is in the camera, and you're like, "Live hit, bro, live hit right now," and he's like, "Oh, my bad," like,
well,
there you
probably
go.
not the worst thing, Jim.
No, might not.
Will you relax? I'm only laughing because you're laughing. Knock it off.
Yeah.
We did the same thing. He said his name. We were all like, well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh man, I hate learning about people.
I know.
Not good. Not fun. Not fun. What y'all think? You think they can get it done?
Yeah, they're winning tonight. Sorry, Jesse.
Think they can get it done?
Drake bars.
I know you don't
and the
make
beam will
predictions.
be lit.
I think they need to get it done. Like again, De'Aaron Fox needs to look at the war, don't look at the battle. Don't worry about
Who told you that? Because I feel like you've said that a couple of times today.
Yeah,
Did
because
somebody whisper that line to you?
No, this is one of those things where he wants to win the matchup so badly against Tatum. And we've seen it with other players. There are certain players that Fox wants to go out and win the matchup. Like, don't worry about the matchup. Worry about the only thing that matters now. Like 3 years ago when your team was bad, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now your team's not bad. You go out there and you figure out how to win the game.
I honestly think he just wants to go out and beat Keegan at this point.
Where's that?
He just wants to have a better game.
He won the
than Keegan
matchup
Murray.
against SGA. Won the matchup and won the game. They can do that.
Yeah, I mean, he won the game. That's all that matters. Didn't SGA have 43?
Yeah, I thought they both had
43, 41.
Oh,
43 to 41. Yeah, but yeah,
that's not really winning the battle.
Yeah, it could have been 31, and as long as the Kings got the dub, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. But yeah, that was a moment. We won't get that moment with Tatum tonight. But obviously the Celtics are stacked with players, man. And this is the first the Kings have done what everyone has wanted them to do for the first 3 games of this homestand. Now it picks up. Business is about to pick up.
Business about to pick up.
As good old JR would say, it starts with the Celtics, hits the Phoenix Suns on Friday, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday.